Thank you all so much for joining us for the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Hatchett, do you mind opening us up in a word of prayer? What's your mic number?
Number 12.
You want to get back northeast Georgia?
I would love to.
Go ahead, open us up.
Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for getting us here, and please help us get home safely as soon as we can. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Good news for everybody. Maybe not for everybody. Yes, sir. You're taking time here, Mr. Pro Tem. Let me turn your mic on.
Could I make a motion that be the standing prayer for this committee
Oh,
every
yes.
time we meet?
That is our standing prayer. We'll just make a motion every meeting that we repeat the prayer. Good news for everybody. We have a hard stop at 5. We actually have another committee that some of y'all have to be at 5. Unless I'm missing something, which I may be, this is not too aggressive an agenda, though we do have 5 bills. So if you want to sign up to speak on the bills, please come up here and sign up. Looks like not too many people are interested. I guess y'all's bills aren't that important today. So that's a better way of putting it, Senator Cow's experience talking. All right. We will start with House Bill 77. Chairman Green, come on up. And Senator Freddie Powell Sims, sends her regards.
Yeah, I
I think
bet
she
she
beaches
does.
to Southwest Georgia, excuse me.
She's already home.
I'm sure she is. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
We're working off LC 491198S.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Judiciary. This is adding a 4th judge to the circuit in the Daugherty Circuit in Southwest Georgia. And we did it by substitute, just moved the date to starting July 1 of this particular fiscal year. And I think you heard in the speech yesterday of Chief Justice Boggs some of the issues that we are faced in Southwest Georgia. We have over 10,000 cases that we're backed up with. We have 656 people in jail that's been there from 1 year to 2 years. And we have over 50 plus murder cases that we're waiting to hear on that. And I would appreciate very much, and the people of Southwest Georgia, especially the Daugherty system there, would appreciate a yes vote on this particular House Bill 77 by substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe y'all are number what on the Judicial Council? Number 1.
Number
Judicial
1.
Council list. You have one question, or is it a motion to pass? Question. Senator Cowser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what was the original starting date? You said that you've changed this by committee sub.
It was at to push it into the next particular January the 1st.
Is
of
the money in this year's budget?
It is money in the budget that we just passed
Okay.
a few minutes ago.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. No one signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion to pass by our pro tem. Is there a second? Second by Senator Cowser. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you so much. We're very much appreciative of this.
And who's going to be carrying the bill in the Senate?
Freddie Powell Sims.
All right. Thank you
Senator
very much.
Sims.
Safe travels back to Southwest Georgia.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
on my
you.
way.
All right. Next, we're going to go to Chairman Stan Gunter. House Bill 176.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's make sure we get our substitute, not substitute, our LC number. LC 491180. Is that what you have?
That's what I have. Thank you.
All right. The floor is yours.
All right. This is a council Superior Court judges bill. They are asking for an increase in the expenses for the official court reporter of any circuit. It hasn't been changed in the last 30 plus years. We're not exactly sure when the last time it was changed. Trying to equate the dollars to today, it ended up that doubling the amount that's in there now was slightly less than trying to equate the dollars. So that's basically what we did. We just doubled the amounts. And it's a simple bill. That's what it does.
All right. Any questions for Chairman Gunter? We have a question from Senator Hodges, or does it? Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not a question, just a quick comment, and I'll add to Chairman Gunter's comments in that we heard yesterday in our Judiciary Subcommittee appropriations from some judges who were talking about how they were having difficulty getting court reporters and needed more funding and other ways to entice more court reporters into the business. And so I just offer that as a comment and also in support of your bill.
Yeah, thank you very much, and that is one of the reasons that the council asked for this bill. So,
All right, any other questions from the committee? No one signed up to speak on the bill. We're going to slow down a little bit. No one signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? We have motion to pass by Senator Cowser, second by Senator Parent. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It is unanimous.
awesome, thank you.
Who's going to carry this one for us?
I was going to talk to Bo about that.
So, all right, Leader Bo Hatchett will carry it. Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Y'all have a good weekend.
Sure we'll be seeing you soon across the street. All right, back on the agenda, House Bill 139. Yes, sir.
Just to, hopefully he remembers how easy this process was, and when you see any of us in your committee in the House to. Just kidding. Okay.
Ever since, never, I'll stop my jokes.
It is. This is it.
Let me just say I've always been treated well here, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, Representative Crowe, down the south side and southeast side of town.
Yes, sir.
You're here with House Bill 139.
That is
Working-
correct, sir. LC 491160.
All right.
This is it's a GBI bill that actually we had here in your committee last year, passed out of the committee. Just one of those that unfortunately ran out of time at the end of session last year. What it does is it would allow currently sworn employees of a law enforcement agency are not required to give their personal address and phone number as part of discovery as a witness when they're testifying for the prosecution as a virtue of their employment. Non-sworn employees such as crime scene technicians, lab techs, DNA scientists don't have that same protection. This would include them by adding non-sworn employees to that code section, giving them those same protections when they're testifying as part of their employment. There were some concerns last year that we were able to work out between PAC and GACTL about them being able to be notified if they were had moved on. So they're required to give their forwarding address to their former employer so they can get a hold of them. And that is essentially the bill, Mr. Chairman. Answer any questions.
Is it the same bill that we passed out of committee last year? Any
It is.
changes from last year?
No, sir.
All right. Any questions from the committee? All right, no one signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee?
I'll move to pass the pleasure.
We have a motion to pass by Senator Parent. Do we have a second? Second by Senator Hodges. Senator Hatchett, do you want your name on it? Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. And who's going to be carrying this one in the Senate?
Senator Albers.
Are you going to have better luck this time than last year trying to get it called up, you think?
I hope so. Yes, sir. Nellie feels very confident that she's going to be able to have that done.
Was it Senator Albert's last time that had the bill?
It was. We're trying to get earlier start this year, so
And maybe that'll help him a little bit.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is House Bill 327. Representative Cameron. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We are working off of LC 480794.
Thank you for letting me come before the committee.
Yes, sir.
This bill emanated out of the Lookout Mountain Judicial District from a case that we could not prosecute. A gentleman who, step-grandfather who had relations with his step-granddaughter. Step-grandchildren are not covered under the incest law. And I brought my district attorney from the Lookout Mountain District, Chris Arndt, to testify. He's also As of next Tuesday, will be our new Superior Court judge. So,
Congratulations.
So let me give you a little background why I asked Representative Cameron to bring this bill. We had a case, a 16-year-old young lady, so she was of the age of consent. Mom started having some problems herself, sent the girl to go live with her grandmother, who was now remarried, had been for several years, but since it was not her blood relation, it was a step-grandfather. He's not covered under the incest statute. The statute is very strictly construed, and it must be a relationship specifically specified in the statute in order to prosecute someone. Now, this gentleman, who is some 40 years, this young girl senior, immediately began manipulating her into having a sexual relationship with him. It's nothing that arose to a forcible level where we couldn't charge him with forcible rape, but it was basically when she refused to comply with his demands, she had no privileges. Basically everything was taken away from her. Life was made as miserable as possible. And when she would comply, then he would lavish gifts and rewards upon her. This went on for about a year and a half until the girl in question became suicidal. Luckily, she did reach out for some help at that point and was able to get some counseling, and our Children's Advocacy Center provided her with excellent counseling, and she thankfully decided not to end her life, but did report that this had happened. The police initially arrested this gentleman for incest, but we could not prosecute under the incest statute. I reached out to Representative Cameron, not to just because of this situation, we can't go back and do anything about this, but as in our day and age when families break apart and reform so many times, this is likely to happen again and again, and especially as grandparents and step-grandparents are often now raising their grandchildren. So I thought we needed to do something to prevent the next situation.
We don't have the whole code section in front of us, but I believe stepchildren are already included.
Right, it's step-parents are already in there, and that actually there's some of the case law on this says since the legislature's included parent or step-parent, that the fact that it says grandparent but does not say step-grandchild, that is then not in the statute, and that's what we're asking to do.
Or you have a question from Senator Parent?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. So, thank you, Representative. So, I certainly take the point about step-grandparents. I don't have an objection, but I'm interested in this, the situation, because it almost seems like because they were, this individual had some power over this child.
Yes.
Or young woman. And I'm interested in your thoughts on that, because there is this in that particular situation, the relationship, the legal-ish relationship existed, and that it was a step-grandparent. But it seems like the broader issue is that there was power being wielded due to the circumstance that young woman was in. Did you just say, well, look, in this instance, had we just had this particular change in the law, it would have been easy to prosecute? Or did you think about the broader implications of how she landed in that, that?
Well, but just having, like, again, if they have that relationship and there's none of that kind of power aspect, it's probably a case that's not going to get prosecuted if they're closer in age, and it's, but because there is that power, I think that makes it why we wanted to prosecute this case. It's not something that arose to the level where that it would equate to force. It was more, I'm just going to make your life unpleasant, or I'm going to make your life really pleasant if you do what I want. And that's not something that we felt was beyond the reasonable doubt equate to force.
Thank you.
That was actually my initial reaction too, is I would think there'd be somewhere else in the code you could prosecute somebody to this, but I guess there's just not.
We beat this around the bush exhaustively, and there can be constructive force, but this case just didn't arise to that. It was more, again, I'm not going to let you have your phone, you're not going to get to go out to eat, you're not going to go out with your friends, and then if you do these things, I'm going to lavish all these gifts upon you. So it wasn't quite something we felt we could legitimately bring to a jury and say this was the equivalent of force.
All right, any other questions, Senator Parent?
So there wouldn't be anything existing where, like, if you're residing under the same roof,
No, ma'am.
because that would seem to have opened up some of what you just said, like the fact that this individual was living with this person gave him an amount of power over her, regardless of the relationship.
Right, but in those, in order to prosecute for forcible rape, which it would have to be, it's got to be something that would arise to the level of constructive force. Basically, none of us felt that this would equate to constructive force.
If he had said, you will not be permitted to live here anymore unless you do as I say, in this sense, would that have arisen to
We're
constructive
getting
force?
closer with things like that. You know, if it would have been homeless or something like that, then maybe we're getting closer. But it's kind of hard to speculate. On the universe of facts we had were basically, it was either privileges or no privileges, and none of our prosecutors thought that was sufficient to equate to constructive force.
So if you just generally lived with this, roommate that was a older person, there's nothing in the law right now that would prevent that person from exercising that sort of demands over a young person or a young man in a sexual sense.
Right. And I know there's a lot of other situations we probably could have addressed, but I felt generally, my experience has been the more clean the bill is, the easier they are to pass. And, we could probably think of a lot of other situations which we might want to address as well. But, I thought that this one situation, I thought gave a good impetus to make this particular change, especially because there are so many families that, again and again and again, we see grandparents, taking care of their kids. And I've been shadowing our judges on, civil days for divorce hearings. And I don't know how many in just the couple of weeks I've done that, where I've heard where the grandparents are the one raising the kid. And so I felt this was a situation which was likely to arise again.
Any other questions from the committee for the author or District Attorney Arndt, soon to be judge? All right, no one else signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? We have a motion to pass from Senator Jones. Do we have a second? I have a second from Senator Rhett. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Who is going to carry the bill?
I have requested Senator Payne, but I have not heard back.
All right,
I will let you know first thing Monday morning, sir.
We'll go ahead and put him down.
Okay.
Senator Payne. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Committee.
All right.
Thank you.
Last bill on the agenda, Chairman Leverett. House Bill 186. We are working off of LC 491183. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
How many bills you have in our committee this year?
5 so far, Mr. Chairman. This has just become my home away from home.
Yeah, 5 of the 30 bills we have. Is this the only one you want?
No, sir. I've made requests for all of them.
Okay.
What can I say? I'm greedy.
Yeah, that's all right.
But it's a pleasure to be back here again. I appreciate your scheduling this matter for today, and I appreciate the committee's time and attention. This is House Bill 186. And the next words I say with some trepidation. It's going to cause, eyes to narrow and brows to furrow and people to lean forward in their seats aggressively. But, Mr. Chairman, in all honesty, this truly is a cleanup bill. We passed last year House Bill 916. I'm sure you remember my high-voltage, exciting presentation of the State and Superior Court Appellate Practice Act. You were all wrapped, and I know you all ran on that bill last year.
But you screwed it up, I guess, right? You have to come
What's
back and
that?
fix it. You screwed it up, so you got to come back and fix it.
Absolutely. That's
Right.
what they said. That's why we meet every year, to fix the mistakes we made the previous one. So there were, basically in that bill, we did away with the old petition for cert manner of appeal from a lower court to a state and superior court, replaced it with a petition for review. There were a couple of places in code where we didn't catch petition for certiorari and change it to review. And there was also one reference in one code section where we had made reference of not changing some times to appeal in some cases where it was specifically provided by other law, and we tried to clean that up as well. So those are basically the changes. And the effective date at the end, by the way, is consistent with the act last year. Anticipating that we might need to make some cleanup this year, we had a delayed effective date of this, I believe, July 1 of this year. Yeah. And Darren ends with the Judicial Council. You recall this was a Judicial Council bill. It had taken 4 or 5 years, I think, to get to this point, a lot of work. He's here if the committee has any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Enns. Do you think we should move the effective date back one more year in case we don't have it right this time, or you think we're good to go?
Well, probably 2 or 3, Mr. Chairman, but let's take a chance. What do you say?
Okay.
Live dangerously for once.
Any questions from the committee? No one else signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion to pass by Senator Hatchett, second by Senator Kennedy. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I think it was unanimous, I guess.
I'll take it either way. Let's say it was anyway, Mr. Chairman.
All right, say it. Who's going to carry this for us?
Well, I've made some entreaties and should be able to let you know shortly.
Okay. Let us know as soon as you can. We have to report it out. Senator Kennedy will carry it.
Pro Tem, he carried the parent bill last year, so I appreciate him.
He likes cleanup bills, so. All right. Especially cleaning up all of our messes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, committee.
Well, that's all we have, committee. Much quicker than we thought. I should have done a few more, I guess. That's right. Prayers are answered. With that, we're adjourned. Everybody have a good weekend.